Hello everyone, this is Joshua Baum. I'm here with my Computer Science 61B Project Zero extra credit. So first I'm going to start off with the things I implemented. So collision was the first big thing, like kind of the project instructions gave us. And the way that I went about that was first needing to check the distance between all body objects every single frame, which is easy enough given the distance feature or the distance method we already implemented uh, during the project. And then if the distance is close enough between two objects, you're going to want to just calculate the force of the impact and the new velocities of the objects, and there's just like some pretty general formulas you can find online. And then you want to apply those impact forces to the object with their new velocity. So this is just like calling the update method in the standard project, where you want all of the forces acting on the object to pull it, and then you want them to be applied given the velocity of the object. And then finally, I definitely adjusted the physics a lot because real world physics were a bit extreme for this. For example, the sun and the earth colliding had quite a extreme impact, and so I needed to change that so that it would be a little bit better for an actual game, which is what I was trying to do, and something that can actually be seen on the screen. So what were some of the challenges? Well, one of the big challenges was actually how close an object should be in order to count as an impact. And you might think this is simple. Well, you just figure out the radius of the two objects and then try to understand when the edges of the circles are hitting. But the problem is that we're not getting every single second of real life simulation because of that dt variable we're using, and it would take forever if we were to calculate everything extremely accurately. And so what you find is because you're skipping over portions of time, you may not actually hit that exact point when objects collide exactly. So I had to mess around a little bit with the actual dt, how accurate or how fast I wanted my universe to move, and then how close objects should be in order to count as a collision. And so that leads to the next thing, what should dt be? So I settled on 1000 arbitrarily just because I liked the speed that it gave me, and I also like that I still have the ability to detect collisions pretty accurately. And then the final thing was just deciding how accurate the physics should be, because originally I wanted it to be this really cool, super accurate thing, but I realized that wasn't going to actually be helpful for exactly what I was doing. So I'm going to go ahead and show off the collision. So ignore the other stuff for now. What I want you to focus on is these dots. So these are all little sun objects, and you'll see they are flying in and hitting each other, then bouncing back out, and gravity is pulling them back in. So it's kind of cool to see the collisions occurring. And then I even have my own little player object, which I'll speak about in a second, and it can collide with objects as well. The goal of the game is to dodge the objects, which are, in this case, little suns. So if I get hit by it, it ricochets off, hits me, and I lose, and I die, and I explode. So let's talk a little bit about how I made the little movable player. It wasn't that difficult. It was just that I had to think about exactly how I wanted to implement it. And all I did was create a new class for the player. But an important part of that was making sure that it had a body object so that it could have physics acting upon it. And then I just added things like health and movement and collision attributes. So there was a couple of challenges. One was keyboard input. I didn't actually realize that STD Draw had native keyboard input support. So that took a lot of Googling and just figuring out online on Stack Overflow exactly how to do it. And then the second thing was kind of like the body attributes. So I actually decided that I did not want the player to respond to collisions and gravity in the exact same way that the bodies do, because I wanted it to be more like a UFO navigating through space and you're trying to dodge little particles. So they're not going to rock your ship if they hit you necessarily. They'll fly away and fly off, and they're not going to super pull on you with gravity or anything like that, but you're just trying to dodge them, even though the gravity that they have between each other is pretty realistic. So that was one of the things that I had to decide. And finally, making it a game, what did I do in order to do that? The first thing that I wanted to do was like eliminating user error. So you guys know that when you want to run the n-body file, there's like all of the things you have to give it. You have to give it the DT, you have to give it the file that selects the universe and all of those things. So what I wanted to do was I just selected a DT, which kind of arbitrarily fit the speed of the game I wanted, and I created my own little data file, text file, in order to create this universe that would exemplify the things that I'd implemented. And then I just added, minor game features. So you'll see in the top left, there's 3 hearts, and that's your health. And when you hit an object, it makes a little sound effect. And then you have the really basic start screen and end screen, which could definitely be improved, but I wasn't too interested in, implementing some buttons and stuff. That wasn't what I was that interested in for this project. So I thought I would focus on the physics side and like the understanding really how it worked as opposed to just copying some code from the internet. So I'm going to give a quick demo of the game, and then that'll be it. And you also notice you're getting some things going on the side here. So when you start, you get this notification. When you get hit by an object, you've been hit. Finally, you lose, and then you get your score, which is actually just the time that you've been alive in like milliseconds, but it looks a lot cooler, if it's a super high number. It's like an old arcade game. So you get your message here. Welcome to UFO training. Use WASD to pilot your very own UFO. You have 3 hearts. Hit an object and you lose a heart. Lose all 3 hearts and the game is over. Good luck. Press space to start. So I'm going to go ahead and press space. And now we are in the game. And so I'm trying to avoid all these dots. And this isn't, the hardest challenge in the world for this level. You could imagine a bunch of bodies moving around, or if I had a bunch of suns on the sides, so you can't escape and there's things bouncing around. So it could definitely be when I collide with something and it screws up the physics of everything, or not the physics, but and then I get hit again and I've lost. So that is my game. So thank you for listening.